Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Excellent. Excuse me. A little more sangria. Hello, everyone. Today we are doing lesson 107. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. And we will be doing the correlating chapter text of Chapter 10, The Idols of Sickness, Section 5, The Denial of God. Let us begin. Alex.
Chapter 10, The Idols of Sickness, Section 5, The Denial of God. The rituals of the god of sickness are strange and very demanding. Joy is never permitted, for depression is the sign of allegiance to him. Depression means that you have forsworn God. Many are afraid of blasphemy, but they do not understand what it means. They do not realize that to deny God is to deny their own identity, and in this sense, the wages of sin is death. The sense is very literal. Denial of life perceives its opposite, as all forms of denial replace what is with what is not. No one can really do this, but that you think you can and believe you have is beyond dispute. Do not forget, however, that to deny God will inevitably result in projection, and you will believe that others and not yourself have done this to you. You must receive the message you give because it is the message you want. You may believe that you judge your brothers by the messages they give you, but you have judged them by the messages you give them. Do not attribute your denial of joy to them, or you cannot see the spark in them that would bring joy to you. It is the denial of the spark that brings depression, for whenever you see your brothers without it, you are denying God.
Absolutely. You know, folks, every time you deny your brother, you deny yourself. And what it's talking about here is when you're feeling that depression, it's because you are the one denying God. It's not because God has abandoned you. It is because you have chosen to deny God. You are holding on to a belief in something that is not true. And because of that, you are in denial. And that is why you are having the bout of depression. It's like in everything, you are the one who has chosen to believe what you are, to think what you are. You are the one doing it. It is in your own mind that these things are occurring. You are the only one experiencing what you are in these moments. And because of it, you have to be willing to accept responsibility here. That you are the one doing this to yourself. With your choice to believe whatever it is you are. No one else is doing this to you right now. If you are feeling depression, it is because you have chosen to deny God with whatever it is you are choosing to believe right now. That judgment that he has abandoned you, that judgment that you are wrong, that judgment that has been handed to you by your brother, that judgment that because your brother is reacting in that way, that you're the one who has to be responsible for that. Those things are what you are choosing to place before God. To believe is the truth. Please continue.
I have a prankster going on with my laptop right now. This is the second time it's gone to sleep on me.
So somebody's letting us know that they're here.
Yeah. Allegiance to the denial of God is the ego's religion. The God of sickness obviously demands the denial of health because health is in direct opposition to its own survival. But consider what this means to you. Unless you are sick, you cannot keep the gods you made, for only in sickness could you possibly want them. Blasphemy, then, is self-destructive, not God-destructive. It means that you are willing not to know yourself in order to be sick. This is the offering your God demands, because having made him out of your insanity, he is an insane idea. He has many forms, but although he may seem to be many different things, he is but one idea, the denial of God. Sickness and death seem to enter the mind of God's Son against his will. The attack on God made his Son think he was fatherless, and out of his depression he made the God of depression. This was his alternative to joy, because he would not accept the fact that, although he was a creator, he had been created. Yet the Son is helpless without the Father, who alone is his help.
Yeah. You know, it's true, folks, that our allegiance to the denial of God is the ego's religion. That is what the ego wants us to believe, is that we have been abandoned by God and that he has the answers for us, our egos. And every illness, every disease that I've ever experienced came from a belief in the ego's religion. Every one was based out of fear and judgment. Every judgment that was handed to me was based out of fear. Every judgment I accepted or chose to make was based out of fear. And what is it that the Course says? There is either love or fear. Which do you choose? When I had to look at every one of the diseases I had, and I had to look at the beliefs I was holding forth as being true, I had to ask, well, where did this belief come from? And then I was shown experiences that I had as a child. And those experiences were the keys of showing me the moments that I chose to forget who I truly am, to start that process of forgetting. Because when I came into this world, folks, I knew who I was. And it was when I started accepting and choosing to make those first judgments that I began to forget who I am. And that's when I started getting sick. It's like 9 months old, I chose to believe that I had done something wrong. And in so doing, found myself being kicked across the room. When my grandmother force-fed me, I chose to believe in those moments I must be doing something wrong here. When I leaned into her and raised my arms to be held by her as she was holding my little infant brother who had just been born, she kicked me across the room into the fireplace. And in those moments, I chose to believe that I must not be deserving of love and affection, and that to ask for any kind of love or affection was to ask to be physically abused, to ask for violence to be done to me. This was at 9 months old, folks. And those were the moments that I began to forget who I truly am. It was in those moments I had an out-of-body experience because I was literally killed in that moment, and I was given the choice to come back and continue on, and I did. That maybe something like that wasn't going to happen again. Then I found myself being raped at about 10, 11 months old by a cousin. And it continued from there. Each of those experiences had me choosing to think and believe something that was not true as defining me. And all of them ended up causing sicknesses and diseases within me. Those were the beginning moments that I started getting sick. When I started being lactose intolerant and unable to drink the milk, the formula that was being given to me. When I had anaphylactic shock to bees, to a bee sting, and died again and was brought back. When I fell and hit my chin into when I fell into a pool, drowning and having to be resuscitated again. All these things were moments in time where I had forgotten who I was. And when I had those out-of-body experiences, speaking with my spirit guides on the other side, seeing those light beings explaining to me that I can continue on in this life, or I can move on to another one and try again with a different set of circumstances. And each time I chose to come back. But it wasn't until in the here and now that I chose to look at those experiences again, to see them with my adult eyes, to see the choices I made in those moments to believe and to judge as I was, that I was able to let those beliefs go, those judgments go in lieu of the truth that was being shown to me by Holy Spirit and God. And in so doing, that sickness, that disease was healed instantly. It all disappeared instantaneously with no medications or surgeries. We're talking 2 forms of cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, migraines, irritable bowel syndrome, severe bronchial asthma, severe allergies to my environment, to the pollen in the air, in the sun. Other than foods and the medications the doctors try to give me, all that other stuff has disappeared. I recognize now that things like pork, onions, broccoli, milk, citrus, melons, things of that nature, I can't eat them. If I do, I get sick. Seafood, iodine, aspirin. When I ingest those things, I get very, very sick. When I take the pills the doctors give me, I get very, very sick. My body starts dying on me. And every time I choose to look out there to those doctors and to take their magic pill, I'm attacking God. I'm choosing to believe in something that is not true, that disease and that illness is real. That's what I kept doing, folks, back then. And when I chose to let go those beliefs in that, they disappeared. They healed instantly, as if they were never there. That was proof positive that my beliefs created the diseases within me, the illnesses and the sicknesses within me. My choice to believe in my ego religion. Think about that. How powerful your mind is to manifest and create whatever it is you are choosing to believe in. And that is what creates the pain and suffering that you experience. Please continue.
5.
Excuse me.
I said before that of yourself you can do nothing, but you are not of yourself. If you were, what you have made would be true, and you could never escape. It is because you did not make yourself that you need be troubled over nothing. Your gods are nothing, because your Father did not create them. You cannot make creators who are unlike your Creator any more than He could have created a son who was unlike Him. If creation is sharing, it cannot create what is unlike itself. It can only share what it is. Depression is isolation, and so it could not have been created. Son of God, you have not sinned, but you have been much mistaken. This can be corrected, and God will help you, knowing that you could not sin against Him. You denied Him because you loved Him, knowing that if you recognized your love for Him, you could not deny Him. Your denial of Him was therefore means that you love Him, and that you know He loves you. Remember that what you deny, you must have once known, and if you accept denial, you can accept its undoing. Your Father has not denied you. He does not retaliate, but He does call to you to return. When you think He has not answered your call, you have not answered His. He calls to you from every part of the sonship, because of His love for His Son. If you hear His message, He has answered you, and you will learn of Him if you hear aright. The love of God is in everything He created, for His Son is everywhere. Look with peace upon your brothers, and God will come rushing into your heart in gratitude for your gift to Him.
Absolutely. Thank you. Recognize, folks, you haven't sinned. You've done nothing wrong. You have just mistakenly chosen to believe in something that was not real. To believe in something that was imaginary. It's like that coil of rope on the ship deck, believing that it's a snake waiting to strike. Until you shine the light on it, you didn't really recognize what it was. You didn't understand what you were seeing. And so your mind imagined it to be this thing that was trying to attack you, making you fearful. Yet once that light shined upon it and you could see what it really was, you were able to let go that fear and that belief that it was something it was not. And in the same way, what this is talking about, folks, is that you, my brothers, have chosen to believe in something that is not true. You have chose to believe in an imaginary thing, that you have done something wrong, that you have sinned in some way because someone told you so, and that you are to deny God because you are in fear of Him finding out that you have sinned. My brothers, it simply isn't true. You have not sinned. You are pure, innocent, and holy, just as God created you. What you have chosen to do is to believe that you are something you are not. You have chosen to blindly believe in and accept a judgment and an opinion handed to you by someone else. That this is the thing that defines you. You have chosen to judge for yourself that you are this thing that you are not, based on the way you were being treated in those moments, thinking that you must be doing something wrong, just as I did as that child, as that infant. That treatment I was getting, I must deserve it. I must be doing something wrong to be getting treated like this. Not understanding that I was not the one that was doing anything wrong, that they were misperceiving who they thought me to be. That they were projecting out their own beliefs and judgments on me about what they were experiencing in their own lives. And in the same way, this is what you are being called to recognize that you have and are doing. In every moment that you are feeling depression, angst, anger, that you are the one in denial here. You are the one projecting out a belief that is not true. You are the one who is cutting the ties to God, putting up a wall between you and God. God is not doing this to you. You are doing it to yourself. And deep down inside, you know you love God and God loves you. You just cannot understand why it is that He would allow these things to happen to you. And what you have not come to understand yet is that His will is whatever you choose for yourself to experience in any given moment. Whatever it is you are choosing to believe in any given moment is His will for you. He will not deny you your free will to choose what it is you want to experience, what it is you want to believe you are experiencing. Recognize your free will gives you the choice on what it is you do in the here and now. Please continue.
8. Do not look to the God of sickness for healing, but only the God of love. For healing is the acknowledgement of Him. When you acknowledge Him, you will know that He has never ceased to acknowledge you, and that in His acknowledgement of you lies your being. You are not sick and you cannot die, but you can confuse yourself with things that do. Remember, though, that to do this is blasphemy, for it means that you are looking without love on God and His creation, from which He cannot be separated. Only the eternal can be loved, for love does not die. What is of God is His forever, and you are of God. Would He allow Himself to suffer? And would He offer His Son anything that is not acceptable to Him? If you will accept yourself as God created you, you will be incapable of suffering. Yet to do this, you must acknowledge Him as your Creator. This is not because you will be punished otherwise. It is merely because your acknowledgement of your Father is the acknowledgement of yourself as you are. Your Father created you wholly without sin, wholly without pain, and wholly without suffering of any kind. If you deny Him, you bring sin, pain, and suffering into your own mind because of the power He gave it. Your mind is capable of creating worlds, but it can also deny what it creates because it is free.
Absolutely. That last sentence there, where it says your mind is capable of creating worlds, but it can also deny what it creates because it is free. And the first thought that popped into my mind when I heard that particular sentence was books, movies, plays. When you read those stories, those fictional stories with those fictional characters, you are reading the creation of a world from someone else's mind. a world that they have created within their own imagination, with all of the accoutrements that go with that world, the people, the places, the things, the creatures, the plants, the sky, the ground under their feet, the vehicles to traverse from here to there. All of it is created within their mind. And in that same way, we look on our bodies as these external things that we are. And we're not. They're just a vehicle, a car, a vehicle that gets us from point A to point B. And as we are going through our lives, we are looking at everything and everyone around us as trying to kill us, and believing that we can die and they can die. These beliefs are what has us trapped in this limited reality. And what it's speaking of here is that you are the one creating all of this. That all of these worlds that you create within your own mind, of all these things that you are thinking and believing in, that you are imagining experiencing, or that you've imagined that you have already experienced, are all being created by you. The only thing that has not been created by you is you. And it's that we are in denial of, is that we did not create ourselves, that we did not create this world around us, that everything's happening to us, that we're a victim of the world we perceive. All right, please continue.
10. You do not realize how much you have denied yourself, and how much God, in his love, would not have it so. Yet he would not interfere with you, because he would not know his Son if he were not free. To interfere with you would be to attack himself, and God is not insane. When you deny him, you are insane. Would you have him share your insanity? God will never cease to love his Son, and his Son will never cease to love him. That was the condition of his Son's creation, fixed forever in the mind of God. To know that is sanity. To deny it is sanity. To deny it is insanity. God gave himself to you in your creation, and his gifts are eternal. Would you deny yourself to him? Out of your gifts to him, the kingdom will be restored to his Son. His Son removed himself from his gift by refusing to accept what had been created for him and what he had created in the name of his Father. Heaven waits for his return, for it was created as the dwelling place of God's Son. You are not at home anywhere else, or in any other condition. Do not deny yourself the joy that was created for you, for the misery you have made for yourself. God has given you the means for undoing what you have made. Listen, and you will learn how to remember what you are.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of this, folks, comes down to your own willingness to listen, to hear whatever is being shared with you. And to recognize that in any given moment, when you are asking a question from the heart, that sometimes that answer may not come from within your own heart and mind, the answer you're asking for. That it actually might be a brother that out of nowhere just says something that just gives the dawning light of truth for you. They may not even be talking to you, but to someone else, and you happen to overhear it. And it's the answer you were looking for, you were seeking. Recognize that sometimes he will use your brother's voices for the purpose of giving you the answer you seek, especially when you are in denial of being able to hear. That is the only other way he may be able to get through to you, is through one of your brothers, with them sharing their truth, their understanding, and speaking through them as a channel. That Holy Spirit will use them as the vessel with which to reach you, just as yesterday's lesson was speaking of, folks. Asking you to allow yourself to be a channel, to be a vessel, to connect with your brother so that they may hear the truth through you from them, from Holy Spirit and God. In this same way, that is what is being stated here, to recognize that sometimes that answer may come from one of your brothers. And they may not even be speaking directly to you, but to somebody else. It is that you are hearing the words being spoken in those moments after you have asked. And it's only your choice to refuse whatever is being placed before you because you do not believe that the person before you would ever know the truth, that you have laid a judgment on them in those moments as not being who they truly are, which is simply a vessel, a channel for Holy Spirit and God. Please continue.
12. If God knows his children as wholly sinless, it is blasphemous to perceive them as guilty. If God knows his children as wholly without pain, it is blasphemous to perceive suffering anywhere. If God knows his children to be wholly joyous, it is blasphemous to feel depressed. All of these illusions and many other forms that blasphemy may take are refusals to accept creation as it is. If God created his Son perfect, that is how you must learn to see him to learn of his reality. And as a part of the sonship, that is how you must see yourself to learn of yours. Do not perceive anything God did not create, or you are denying him. His is the only fatherhood, and it is yours only because he has given it to you. Your gifts to yourself are meaningless, but your gifts to your creations are like his, because they are given in his name. That is why your creations are as real as his, yet the real fatherhood must be acknowledged if the real Son is to be known. You believe that the sick things you have made are your real creations, because you believe that the sick images you perceive are the sons of God. Only if you accept the fatherhood of God will you have anything, because his fatherhood gave you everything. That is why to deny him is to deny yourself. Arrogance is the denial of love, because love shares and arrogance withholds. As long as both appear to you to be desirable, the concept of choice, which is not of God, will remain with you. While this is not true in eternity, it is true in time, so that while time lasts in your mind, there will be choices. Time itself is your choice. If you would remember eternity, you must look only on the eternal. If you allow yourself to become preoccupied with the temporal, you are living in time. As always, your choice is determined by what you value. Time and eternity cannot both be real because they contradict each other. If you will accept only what is timeless as real, you will begin to understand eternity and make it yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for reading that.
You're welcome.
So, what it's speaking of here, folks, is that when you look out on your brothers, you need to recognize that anytime you are judging your brothers to be sinful, bad, wrong, to be doing something that you dislike, anything like that, you're being blasphemous. That when you are looking out there on the world around you and on your brothers and you are judging it in any way, that you are committing blasphemy against God. When you choose to believe in the illusions that your brothers are putting forth as being that what they believe in to be true, you are committing blasphemy in those moments because you are making real what is not. Now, what it's telling you here in asking you to recognize is that when you look out there on the world, to look out on it without judgment. That when you start to let go of any and all judgment and simply recognize that whatever is going on in the moment is needed and necessary. That you do not look at anything in regards to time anymore, but see that everything has perfect timing and that it comes in as it's needed when it's needed. And that whatever is happening in the moment is perfectly timed for you. That the idea of space and time as we have been taught to perceive it is an illusion as well. That everything simply flows in its own way without any kind of time. There's an understanding of what is the day and night, of the wake and sleep, creating and resting. But those aren't times. Those are simply a state of being. And that's what it's trying to get you to understand. That timelessness of simply being. To not constantly be looking at a watch going, oh my God, I have to be here in 5 minutes. I've got to be over there in 30 minutes. How am I going to do it when I'm, 10 minutes over here and 45 minutes to there? It's putting these constricting fetters on yourself. These tie-down straps that restrict you from moving and going where you need to go. It's like having chains and sandbags on your feet and having to drag them. That old ball and chain, as they speak of, in regards to marriage. You are fettered now and you're not able to freely go and do what you want to do when you want to do it. Because now you got to think about the other person in the relationship with you. Key here, folks, it's not a ball and chain, that relationship. What that is an awakening to the fact that you are not two different individuals anymore, but you need to come together and think with one mind, one heart, one spirit. That everything you do impacts the one that you're with as well, because they are you, just as you are them. It's recognizing that you're now one. You're choosing to be one entity, one unit, a team. And that in everything, you put up what in front of you when you go to make choices and decisions, not only what's best for you, but recognizing what will be best for them. When you make your choices and decisions, that whatever you do, you recognize that it will have a consequence, not just for you, but for them. That if you decide to go out and gamble away the rent money, that it's not just your rent money anymore, it's their rent money too. And that you are, in fact, in those moments, impacting them and their life, and you are taking away their free will to choose if that is what they would like to do. That in everything, it's the communication coming together and recognizing that your brother does have free will, your partner does have free will to choose what resonates for them, and to talk about it, and to come to a discernible decision between you as to what is the best choice of action for you both to do. Not just what's best for one and not the other. It's what we've been doing for the last 18 years. Working as a team, recognizing that whatever one does, it affects the other. And that we have to make a conscious choice and decision when we choose to do things, to make a conscious choice to recognize that whatever we're going to do is going to affect the one we're with. And that it would be arrogant of us to deny that truth. And arrogant of us to deny that in those moments we are denying God. To think that God is the one doing something to us. That we know best, we know better. And in all honesty, folks, now that I've reached a point in my life and on this journey of understanding where I was at, what I was thinking and believing in, where I made those choices and decisions to do so, now that I'm where I'm at now, I know I am no longer making choices and decisions to believe. That has stopped for me. I simply recognize now what resonates and what doesn't. If it resonates, then I flow with it. If it doesn't resonate, I back away from it. There's no choice and decision being made there. If it resonates, I turn toward it. If it does not resonate, I turn away from it. Simple as that. There's no choice being made. It is or it is not. Simple as that. All right, folks, that was Chapter 10, The Idols of Sickness, Section 5, The Denial of God. Let's move on to the lesson of the day. Alex?
Workbook Lesson 107. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. What can correct illusions but the truth? And what are errors but illusions that remain unrecognized for what they are? Where truth has entered, errors disappear. They merely vanish, leaving not a trace by which to be remembered. They are gone because without belief they have no life, and so they disappear to nothingness, returning whence they came. From dust to dust they come and go, for only truth remains. Can you imagine what a state of mind without illusions is? How would it feel? Try to remember when there was a time, perhaps a minute, maybe even less, when nothing came to interrupt your peace, when you were certain you were loved and safe. Try to picture what it would be like to have that moment be extended to the end of time and to eternity. Then let the sense of quiet that you felt be multiplied by 100 times, and then be multiplied by another 100 more. And now you have a hint, not more than just the faintest intimation of the state your mind will rest in when the truth has come. Without illusions, there could be no fear, no doubt, and no attack. When truth has come, all pain is over, for there is no room for transitory thoughts and dead ideas to linger in your mind. Truth occupies your mind completely, liberating you from all beliefs in the ephemeral. They have no place because the truth has come, and they are nowhere. They cannot be found, for truth is everywhere, forever now. When truth has come, it does not stay a while to disappear or change to something else. It does not shift and alter in its form, nor come and go and come again. It stays exactly as it always was, to be depended on in every need, and trusted with a perfect trust in all the seeming difficulties and doubts that the appearances the world presents engender. They will merely blow away when truth corrects the errors in your mind.
Absolutely. You know, folks, I've shared before about the things I had been taught to think and believe to be true, and how those, as it's saying here, error or mistake in thoughts and ideas and beliefs, how those are the illusions, and those are the things that are unrecognizable to us, because that is what we've been taught to think and believe in as being the absolute truth, as defining us, defining this world, and defining our brothers within it. And once we have accepted the truth and it enters our mind, those beliefs that we were holding before disappear as if they were never there. They disappear and they evaporate like a ghost. They become ephemeral. They just gone. And what it's talking about here is, if you can picture just for an instant in your mind that moment when you first came into this world, when you were that infant and you felt that love, that caring, that you belonged and you were wanted. If you can remember a moment like that, picture the rest of eternity like that, where you had no worries in the world. No thought of, where's my next meal coming from? Am I going to be safe and protected? I'm just happy, joyful in these moments. If you could remember a moment like that, and you can imagine that the rest of eternity is like that, that's what it's speaking of. And I can tell you, folks, coming into this world, I was greeted with a mother that was disappointed that I was a girl. So she was crying and denying me any love or affection when I first came into this world, because of the fact that I was female. And as she had put it to me at one time in my adult years, was that in those moments when she saw me, she did not want me to have to go through any of the things she went through. And in that moment, when she had thought that thought after I was born, was the moment that she had projected that out for me. She created the energy for that for me to experience all of that and then some. Because she had a fear and a belief that that could happen to me.
Not that it could, that it would.
That it would.
Right. That's why she actually cried. By the way, this actually brought up something for me that I had spoken to about earlier, where I said I had an epiphany that was related to the genie in three wishes, the classic tale of the genie that grants three wishes, and then the other two wishes are usually end up used to undo the first wish. And the epiphany I had was, well, what if I just wished for the universe to always move towards my joy, peace, and happiness? And the realization that I had was, what if that is the case right now? What if whenever I'm upset, what if whenever I think something has gone wrong, I just simply have a misperception? What if every single thing that has ever happened was for my ultimate joy, peace, and happiness?
And that is it in a nutshell, because that is exactly what it is.
Yes.
But we have been taught to judge it to be opposite of that.
Yes.
And that's it in a nutshell, honey. That is exactly it. That is exactly what we've been taught to do. Great job on that.
Thank you.
You are welcome. It's one of those things that you've been having a difficult time understanding. And so the fact that you've just come to that understanding of it is wonderful. It's another brick being removed from that wall that you have built between you and God.
Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
When the truth has come, it harbors in its wings the gift of perfect consistency and love, which does not falter in the face of pain, but looks beyond it steadily and sure. Here is the gift of healing, for the truth needs no defense, and therefore no attack is possible. Illusions can be brought to truth to be corrected, but the truth stands far beyond illusions and cannot be brought to them to turn them into truth. Truth does not come and go, nor shift, nor change in this appearance now and then in that, evading capture and escaping grasp. It does not hide. It stands in open light, in obvious accessibility. It is impossible that anyone could seek it truly and would not succeed. Today belongs to truth. Give truth its due, and it will give you yours. You were not meant to suffer and to die. Your Father wills these dreams be gone. Let truth correct them all.
Absolutely. You know, when the truth comes, the illusion fades away. It disappears as if it never was. It's similar to how the diseases I had been diagnosed with disappeared as if they never were. When I let go the illusion or the belief in the illusions that had been taught to me and handed to me, the belief in those judgments that I was what they were saying I was. And the truth doesn't hurt folks. The truth does not change. It is always the same, and it does stand there right there in your face continuously. You are simply in denial of it in any given moment. When you choose to stand and believe in your ego's religion, it's when you choose to question that religion that you've been taught to think and believe in as being true, that you will find that the truth will correct them on all levels. I am speaking of the physical body, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, folks. Your soul will be healed of the traumas you have inflicted upon it. And honestly, folks, the whole purpose of us coming in here to forget and remember again, to allow ourselves to be controlled and manipulated as we have, it is so that we can never have this happen to us again in any way, shape, or form, that we will be so firmly planted in our foundation of truth that no one may ever come in and manipulate us again. That no one can ever come in and do to us what they have done to us. This is the point of all of this. The purpose of us forgetting and then remembering. Because when all of these things started in the first place, it was because some other entity and being had come in and tried to control us. To say they had control over us. That we were their property. That we had no free will to choose for ourselves. And in our naivety, we believed them. And we chose to conform to their dictates and believe them to stop the pain and suffering we were being inflicted with. Think about it. Just as when we were children, to get the pain of being yelled at to stop, or hit to stop, punished to stop, to make it so we can leave our room and no longer have to sit in there for 3 hours. Those kinds of things. We conformed to their dictates and their manipulations and did what they were wanting us to do. We accepted their judgments of us in those moments. Think about that. It is a pattern repeated, and it has been going on since the beginning of time. Literally, the beginning of time. Because prior to that, we simply were being. We lived each moment in the moment as it came. We had no fears, no worries. We understood we were provided with everything we needed. Please continue.
We do not ask for what we do not have. We merely ask for what belongs to us, that way we may recognize it as our own. Today we practice on the happy note of certainty that has been born of truth. The shaky and unsteady footsteps of illusion are not our approach today. We are as certain of success as we are sure we live in and hope and breathe and think. We do not doubt we walk with truth today and count on it to enter into all the exercises that we do this day. Begin by asking Him who goes with you upon this undertaking that He be in your awareness as you go with Him. You are not made of flesh and bone and blood and bone, but were created by the same thought which gave the gift of life to Him as well. He is your brother, and so like to you, your Father knows that you are both the same. It is yourself you ask to go with you. How could He be absent where you are? Truth will correct all errors in your mind, which tell you you could be apart from Him. You speak to Him today and make your pledge to let His function be fulfilled through you. To share His function is to share His joy. His confidence is with you. As you say, truth will correct all errors in my mind, and I will rest in Him who is myself. Then let Him lead you gently to the truth, which will envelop you and give you peace so deep and tranquil that you will return to the familiar world reluctantly.
Absolutely. When we started truly grasping some of the concepts in here, we started finding that less and less were we pulled to play the video games and things like that. That those distractions and illusions were no longer desirable to us. And those distractions were being put in place because we didn't want to look at our mistaken thoughts and beliefs. We did not want to look at the errors within our own mind. And it wasn't until we chose to start looking at those mistaken beliefs, those errors, that the truth was able to correct them. And, as it says here, truth will correct all errors in my mind, and I will rest in him who is myself. There have been many references to how Holy Spirit is our higher self. And when you think about it, folks, he is residing within us always. Our higher self and Holy Spirit, they are residing within us. And they are our link to God, to the clarity of understanding and purpose. And it's when we choose to actually connect with them that we do feel a reluctance to come back into this world, this reality, and deal with the bullshit that we've been handed, that we've chosen to believe in. More and more we want to escape it. But instead of escaping into a video game, we want to escape into their healing, their reality. And we seek for it and seek for it and seek for it. And then when we trip up and we can't find it, we start telling ourselves we've done something wrong. We fall back on that egoic religion. That ego religion is what we fall back on every time. And it's what eats at us within, because then we start giving ourselves recriminations and telling ourselves how horrible and bad we are, that we can't seem to do anything right because we're falling back on that belief system again. I've done it. Alex has done it. And I know that you all have done it. I watch you do it. Please continue.
I just want to mention something. What you were just talking about brought up something for me from a conversation I was having with my mother earlier about a spiritual guru. I don't remember what his name was, Yoga Honcha something anyways. And she was suggesting that, I buy his book and start following him. And regardless of the confusion and the pain and suffering that I've still been going through, I just cannot bring myself to place any other person up on as an idol.
Put them up on a pedestal as knowing more better than you.
I just can't do it.
Exactly. It's recognizing, you're starting to recognize that the answer is not out there in somebody else. It's not in some book. And it's that dawning realization that has you start looking within for the answers. Right now, that door has opened for you to really start getting these things that this is talking about. But it had to happen that you come to that understanding within yourself first, that you can't keep looking out there in the world in someone else for the answer.
Right. Someone else or some other book.
It's like I can say something to you 20,000 times about looking out there, about how you believe in somebody else's thing. But until you recognize it for yourself, that that's what you're doing, looking out there in another, that you aren't going to keep, that doing that isn't getting you anywhere, that you can't keep doing that.
All I know is that as much as I do not hear the voice of guidance anymore like I used to, I still have a memory of how many times I heard the voice say, all idols must fall.
Yes.
And now it seems whenever I even think about placing somebody up on a pedestal, I'm reminded of that message, all idols must fall.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what this is about. Knocking those pedestals over, getting those people off of that pedestal you've placed them on. And recognizing that if you've placed yourself on a pedestal, you're going to have to start wiggling back and forth till that fucker falls, because you're no better than anybody else. You're their equal.
Right. I'm not better than anyone, and nobody else is better
than
me.
you. Exactly.
Which is interesting because I think we had that conversation this morning about you and me.
Mm-hmm. That we're equals.
Right.
And that sometimes, like I was just sharing with you, that sometimes your brother is used as the channel, the vessel of which the message is being given. Because you've asked from the heart, the message is coming through them. It's being placed before you. Now it's up to you to accept it. Don't look at the messenger. Look at the message. The form doesn't matter here, folks. It's the content that matters. It's like if the video goes black, it matters not. As long as you can hear the message that is being given. The form does not matter. It is only the content that matters here.
I'll remember that the next time I have a corrupted video file.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to continue.
Yes, please.
And yet you will be glad to look again upon this world, for you will bring with you the promise of changes which the truth that goes with you will carry to the world. They will increase with every gift you give of 5 small minutes, and the errors that surround the world will be corrected as you let them be corrected in your mind. Do not forget your function for today. Each time you tell yourself with confidence, quote, "The truth will correct all errors in my mind," you speak for all the world and Him who would release the world as He would set you free.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, in everything, folks, you got to ask. You can't receive if you don't ask. And recognize that it's asking for that truth and being willing to accept it when it is being laid before you. Stop judging the messenger as not being capable of giving you the message. Start recognizing that the message can come from anyone in any place in those moments when you have chosen to ask from the heart. That it is not going to be limited to whatever you are thinking, believing, and choosing it is going to be. Because that is what's happening in those moments when you choose to deny what is being placed before you. It is because in your own mind you have chosen to pick and choose what it is you're willing to accept as the truth. Think about that. You are the one picking and choosing what it is you are going to be willing to accept as being the truth. You're the one deciding in that moment what is the truth. And it's not mattering that the absolute truth is being laid before you in those moments, because you're not seeing it as the truth in those moments. You are choosing to see it as what it is not. You are choosing to believe that it has no merit or meaning in those moments, that it's a lie being handed to you, because it doesn't corroborate with what it is you are choosing to think and believe is supposed to be the truth. Think about that, folks. That in everything, you are the one that is picking and choosing, deciding what anything and everything is going to be for. All right. That was lesson 107. If I can get back to the page of it, now that my pages want to stick together. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. So that was lesson 107. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. And chapter 10, the idols of sickness, section 5, the denial of God. Thank you for joining us today, folks. My name is Sabrina Reyenga.
And my name is Alex Reyenga.
Please do the work. Only you can do this work. Recognize that He is there. He answers you. That you are the one in denial right now. You are the one placing the bricks in the wall in front of you. and in between you and God and you and your brothers. No one else is doing this but you. Please do this work. Hugs, love, light, and blessings on your journey, my brothers. You are loved. We love you. Please be the light you are meant to be. Please be the light we see you to be. Please choose to be the light. Thank you for joining us. Blessings on your journey. Have a fabulous day. Bye all.